All right, just an update here. Look at the. I appreciate the geometry of this. It's not symmetrical in many respects because of the way I ran it, but I do appreciate the geometry of this. There's just something aesthetically pleasing with straight lines and a grid. So anyway, the heat runs are in. I was able to utilize in some cases, because this is a lot of the high traffic area with the shower and the vanity, to where you can go alternating 3-2 space between the studs there. So 3 studs, 2 studs, 3 studs. So I was able to do that. This way, this area here will be should be fairly warm as it can be. Embedded, we have 2 temperature sensors. One is simply a backup, and the other temperature sensor, because if one went down, the system wouldn't work. So if you have a backup, then you don't have to remove tile in order to replace it. So it's great that they sent that. So here's the toilet area. You have to be at least 7 inches away from the center of the drain. So we are, and it was a way to kind of chew up some at the very beginning, because I had to start there. It was a way that I was worried about the size of the roll, to chew up some wire to make sure that I didn't have too much at the very end. Turns out I didn't really need to do that, that I actually had enough wire to do really what I should have done. But anyway, so here we go. I divided it up, 1 run, kind of 2nd run, 3rd run, and then 4th run. This is a makeup area. I have a panel that'll actually support the desktop there for my wife, and so I had to stay away from the makeup area. So it just made sense to kind of turn it and go laterally. Then I continued the straight runs, avoiding the tub area. And this was my overflow, just in case I needed to chew up some wire. I had this area reserved just to be able to chew up an additional, I don't know, maybe 10 feet or so. And then running into the laundry, we certainly have the main walkway of the laundry, which is nice. And this area, which is more or less an empty open area with a countertop where my wife could actually do crafts or whatever she wanted to, or some kind of activities, and she could have a desk or a chair there. I mean, a chair for the desk there. So that's the area, and I was planning on doing some heat runs there for her, but we do have a radiator that'll be inside of a cabinet there, and so there should be enough heat flow to where, because I kind of ran out of wire, if you will, that area did not get done. I don't think that'll be an issue. So came through and then ended right there. So you see, I did have just a little bit of extra space there and there where I could have run some wire. So it was probably not necessary to do those 2 little bit of runs there. So that might be another, if you measured it out, maybe another 8 feet. It adds up. And while we did appreciate being able to do 3-2-3-2 to get the maximum heat in this area, I bet we could have afforded going just 3 studs every run, and then ended up with pretty much, I would say, a perfect run. I did a lot of math on this, and then saw the size of the reel and just doubted myself, and I should not have doubted myself. But we'll enjoy this. My wife will very much. She runs cold, so she's going to very much enjoy this system. Fed all my wires, and with my wires I did all the testing that they recommended with the multimeter, and everything tested just fine. Once the tile is in, then it'll have to be tested one more time, then you send in the warranty information. All right, well, there we go. That's all I have for you on this update. The next would be, for me, is that I'm actually going to do a flat coat. So I'm going to come back through with thin set, mix it all up, and I'll do a flat coat. And that flat coat will basically just fill in the area in between the studs and the depression in the stud itself, and it'll embed the wires, of course. And then it'll provide just a flat surface, because I will use the flat edge of the trowel instead of the notched edge. While you could automatically put tile down, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Let that set up. Come back the next day or 2, and then I'll actually be able to lay out my lines for my tile on a flat surface. I don't mind the extra application. It'll get me the pattern that I want with all of this tile here, because I also do have to match up this up here so I end up with a level surface. I'm a little concerned with that, and I know I can do a little bit of feathering with some thicker thin set. It's kind of an oxymoron there. Thicker set, I guess, to where I can actually bring that out a little bit farther, to where you won't actually notice any kind of elevation change there. At least you shouldn't. So there's the heating system. Pretty impressive, and it is satisfying putting this stuff in. You use just basically a kind of a hard float off your grout, And as you lay it down, you just push that float along, and it just locks this the heat coil into the in between the studs. It's a really great system. Okay, there you go. Next will probably be the flat coat video, and then setting up for